that we were saying, do you think that all we saw was just mere political game in the National Assembly against the executive who presented the budget?
I won't really allude to the fact that it was a game. It was an issue of the inefficiency on the side of the executive and lack of thoroughness and exactness and paying attention to details that brought about the key gaps. It was the executive that delivered the budget. It was not the National Assembly. Even
with the fact that there's a change in the system of budgeting.
Yeah, but we have not fully implemented the zero-based budgeting. We have not fully implemented that. Because if you cast your mind back, there was a report that said most of the agencies and the MDAs were not properly tutored in line with zero-based budgeting. It was still the concept of envelope budgeting.
Okay.
That was applied. That was where you have most of these gaps that we have in the budget.
Let's talk to the minority leader, Honorable Leo Ogo, in our Abuja studio. From the point of view of the People's Democratic Party that has a majority number as a minority party at the National Assembly, how is your party taking this? Do you think that this budget now passed by the National Assembly will meet the aspirations of many Nigerians hoping to reap the benefits of democracy from this administration?
Sorry?
Okay, if I may throw the question again, Honorable Ogo.
Okay.
From the point of view of your party, the kind of hiccups that we saw in the process of passing this budget, what is the view of your party on the floor of the National Assembly now that the budget has been passed? Do you think that it will meet the aspirations of many Nigerians hoping for change promised by the APC?
Well, first, I think you need to appreciate the fact that the policies of the government must follow a specific pattern. And when you look at most of their demands in line with the budget, they were all provided from, especially their social responsibility and a host of other demands that they asked for. So, since this is what the government intends achieving, I believe and I am convinced that all things being equal, definitely it is they themselves that will carry out the responsibility of implementing the budget. The essence of the whole exercise is for them to carry out the policy of the government and return the budget to them the way and manner it came. I believe that there was some level of corruption that were done. You can clearly see that there were issues that bordered on overinflation of figures. These figures were all inflated, but all said and done, I think let's see how they carry out, the implementation of the budget. It is not just budgeting, but it is mostly the implementation. I believe there are some little challenges there, and clearly over personnel, there are going to be issues that bother some personnel. But the time factor was not really there to complete the issue of the personnel, because there are some agencies definitely that have personnel challenges, and how we were able to, conclude this exercise because of the speed factor also has its own its challenges. But all said and done, the budget cannot be a perfect document at any given time. We will keep looking at it, and if the government decide that there is the need to do some amendment or even propose a supplementary budget, it is at their, credit to do that.
Okay, let me quickly switch. Let me move on to Ken Okoligbo, who joins us from Delta State. He's a PDP member and a political scientist. From what we are seeing now, we've been waiting, Ken, and we've been hoping that when this budget comes into fusion, some of the promises of the Buhari-led administration will now start off naturally. When in the budget here like this, in the beginning, soon can we start getting relief from some of the hitches that we're seeing in the economy, for example?
Well, Shehu, you rightly pointed it out. The benchmark remained the same, which was very shocking. To me, at $38 at a barrel of our Bonny Light, which is Brent crude, is clearly giving us a budget that is already dead on arrival. Why do I say that? It is very obvious that the price of crude as it stands today will definitely not hover between $38 and $45. What I thought was going to be done by the National Assembly was to reduce that benchmark 17 billion was a welcome development out of that budget. But Fashola has said he's owing 2 trillion naira. And if you have Fashola, who is today the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, saying that he's owing 2 trillion naira, you have given him only 400 billion for the 3 ministries. It therefore shows that the capital budget of 1.8 trillion is a tall order that is definitely not going to be achieved. Why do I say this, Sheung? 984 million naira, you remember, is going to be done for domestic borrowing, and 900 million naira will be done by foreign borrowing. Now, you're saying you're going to promote SMEs. How can you promote SMEs when even the CBN has raised the monetary policy ratio because they're trying to mop up the cash in terms of trying to give the naira a sense of stability? So it is very clear, Shehu, that what this budget portends for its danger. There is no gainsaying about it. You don't even have to be an economist to know that you cannot be budgeting 1.8 trillion for capital expenses when you are not sure that your 2 million barrels of crude oil that you are producing is even going to be sold in the open market. Look at Saudi Arabia.
Ken, if I may be quickly hop in here from that, just a moment. If you look at it, the Buhari administration says it will diversify the economy. It's a sharp reality in everybody's face now that the price of oil is dwindling and is not exactly what it was about a year ago. But do you appreciate what the effort of diversifying into agriculture, into mining and the rest? You see that this budget is moving in that direction.
Sorry, Shehu, I can't appreciate that now because you have 2 men who are manning those ministries, Audu Ogbe and Fayemi. Yes, Audu Ogbe as a farmer, you can say is a square peg in a square hole. But it's obvious that Fayemi is still grappling with the Ministry of Solid Minerals, which is what we are relying on in terms of diversification. Even the Ekiti states where he comes from have so many minerals. But I'm happy Leo Ogbe is out there. He's speaking from the House of Representatives. He knows that exclusive legislation is what deals with solid minerals and makes it impossible for the state governments to harness these potentials and pay tax and royalties to the federal government, which can diversify this economy and increase revenue. I think it is more of talk and less of action, because from the body language of what I've seen from these 2 ministers, I dare say that I will not be able to earn even 200 billion naira this year from those 2 ministries. How then can you fund a 1.8 trillion capital budget when you cannot earn from these ministries? And looking at what was allocated to these 2 ministries, what was allocated to them is far less than what was allocated to Fashola, who is already crying that he can, except he pays the contractors, they cannot even move back to site, and he cannot even provide those important infrastructural developments we're talking about. Look at power today. Power, we are less than 2,000.
Mr. Okolibo, I'm sorry, all the thought, because we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we dig deeper into this matter, and we'll bring more perspectives into the issues of what Nigerians should expect also regarding this budget. Money is coming into every aspect of Nigeria's economy. That is a basic interpretation and implication of the passage of the budget. But yet, the president hasn't signed to it. We'll talk more when we return. Stay with us.